Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I thank have inspired me. Hope they can inspire you as well. I will have links below this video to their site. They are Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lezer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Alon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rav Daniel Asore, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobach, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Asher, and Rabbi Ron Ruvain. And so if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link below this video to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the soul means, what it stands for, and what I'm doing. So this is in relation to the upcoming parashat, which is Parashat Vayakel. And this is again taken from the emails I get from Rabbi Eli Mansour, the weekly Parashat Insights. And I call this one, Only the Torah Determines What is a Mitzvah, a very important topic. So, in Parashat Vayakel, it tells of Moshe assembling Bnei Yisrael in order to tell them Hashem's commands regarding the construction of the Mishkan, which was the temporary sanctuary in the desert. So, however, Moshe prefaces these instructions with the command to observe the Shabbat. The rabbis explain that Moshe began with Shabbat observance to underscore the point that the lofty undertaking of building a Mishkan, the place where the Shekhinah, the divine presence, would reside, did not override the Shabbat prohibitions. The people might have assumed that given the importance of this project and the nation's enthusiasm to bring the Shekhinah into their midst, they should do everything necessary to hasten the completion of the Mishkan, including working on Shabbat. So Moshe therefore prefaced the commands regarding the Mishkan with the command of the Shabbat, emphasizing that as important and precious as the Mishkan, of course, was, its construction had to be halted every week for the observance of Shabbat. What is the only thing that we know that continues on Shabbat was the Karban Tameh, because that was every day. So that the Kohanim did. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If they lit the menorah, I'm not sure if that was, but I know for sure that the Karban Tameh was always, meaning every day. So there were certain things that were done on the Shabbat, but that was required. It's different. That was when they had the Beis HaMikdash. That wasn't. I don't know if they had the Karban Tameh in the Midbar. I don't remember. Anyway, that's just a side note. So anyway, this concept conveys a critical message about our religious observance generally. It teaches us that only the Torah in itself dictates for us what a mitzvah is. We cannot define for ourselves what a mitzvah is. Mitzvah is a commandment, but it actually means, it's sivoy, it means to get something that connects you to Hashem. What a mitzvah is, what is good to do. So, okay, let me just repeat that because I made an interruption. So we cannot define for ourselves what a mitzvah is, what is good to do, and what is not good to do. It made a great deal of sense to the people that the work on the Mishkan should continue on Shabbat. But this is not what Hashem wanted. And so if the people had continued working to build the Mishkan on Shabbat, they would have been guilty of a grievous sin. Even though their work was idealistically motivated, they were sincere in their desire to bring Hashem into their midst, and their activities certainly appeared and felt like a holy act. It would have been a sin. The fact something seems like a mitzvah does not make it a mitzvah. Only the Torah determines for us what is a mitzvah and what is not. Very important point we have to remember. So he goes on to say that there are numerous different applications of this fundamental principle. One is the grave mistake made by the non-Orthodox Jewish movements. I would say the non-Torah observant, I prefer to use that. So their leaders have taken the liberty to decide for themselves, based on their feelings and perceptions, what a mitzvah is. Very, very big mistake. We do not go on our feelings. We only follow what the Torah says. That's it. There's not like no in between. There's no like maybe yes, maybe no, or I'll pick my own way. There's no pick and choose. So that's important. So and thus, for example, they decided that driving to prayer services on the Shabbat is acceptable because otherwise many people would be unable to attend. And unfortunately, there are actually even those that try to be makare people, which means bring them closer, that kind of either turn the other cheek about that, and I'm not going to say what groups, Hamev and Yavin, you will understand, whoever understands will understand, that they want people to come regardless. So that's not right either. You have to tell them, hey, you need to know that you're driving to shul, because you're not getting anything out of that. You've already crossed the line, so there's no point. So you tell people, hey, if you want to come to shul, great, but you have to be able to get here without a car. But there are certain groups that don't say that, and people do drive their cars, and that's not okay. And the leader of the shul, if it's a rabbi, will be held accountable for that, for not saying anything, because he's supposed to give them direction. That's what he's there for. Anyway, that aside, so it is clear to anyone with even the most basic familiarity with the halachot of Shabbat that driving constitutes an act of Shabbat desecration, and that avoiding driving on Shabbat is thus far more important than praying with a minyan, which is true. It's better you never go to shul ever, ever, ever in your entire life on Shabbat, and you keep Shabbat by staying home, because you're going to get rewarded for that. So the other way around, you're not going to get any reward. It's going to be a big problem in Shemayim, and we don't want to deal with those problems. Anyway, the fact that some people might intuitively decide otherwise does not make their view correct. Only the Torah, not people's intuition, determines what is a mitzvah. Another example is the observation made by Rav Yisrael Salanter about students who are so passionate about attending Torah classes that they push and shove to get a front row seat. They might feel they're doing something, quote, religious or, quote, holy by excitingly rushing to be among the first in the room and get a seat close to the rabbi. But what they are doing, Rav Yisrael Salanter said, is sinful. It is better not to attend a Torah class at all than to push people on the way to a Torah class. Yeah, and you hear things like that. And it's also, if you think about it, if other people are watching you that aren't Jews, it's also Chil Hashem that, if you're in a crowd or something and you're pushing to get to the front and you're knocking people over and other people are looking at you like, oh, that's how these religious Jews do things, it's not a good sign, because then they tell other people, oh, we don't act like that. How come they do? Why is that okay? So you have to have that realization. So anyway, another example is charity. Of course, charity is a wonderful and vitally important mitzvah, but there is a zero positive value to giving charity with money which was earned dishonestly. A mitzvah performed by way of sin is not a mitzvah. So that the expression goes, ha-mitzvah ba al-yidei avera, a mitzvah that comes by way of an avera, like you say, oh, I'm going to give charity, but the money I earned to give that charity was dishonest. So it's not charity. So it might feel like a mitzvah, it might seem holy, and the donor might be sincerely motivated. Just like building the Mishkan on Shabbat seemed holy, but in truth there is nothing holy about it, because the Torah strictly forbids such conduct. So that's all. So similarly, there are people who are involved in the otherwise noble effort to build a new institution, such as a synagogue or yeshiva, and in the process take the liberty to insult, embarrass, or malign other people. They assume that the lofty ends, building a new institution, justify the means of hurting other people and instigating fights. This assumption is in diametric opposition to the Torah. The Torah teaches us in no uncertain terms that the ends most definitely do not justify the means, and that a mitzvah performed by way of a sin is not a mitzvah at all. So, meaning to do something bad in order to gain the mitzvah is not a mitzvah at all. So, like you said, it's not going according to the Torah. So let us remember that the Torah and only the Torah teaches us what is right and what is wrong. We need to consult with our rabbis and receive their guidance so that we ensure that everything we seek to do that seems like a mitzvah is indeed a mitzvah. So always, if you have a question, so if it's on halacha, if it's on Shabbos, there's so much information out there, and there's so many different people who can give you answers, on the internet. Make sure you get it from a reliable source, and you don't shop for don't go rabbi shopping, as we say. It's like, I'll just, if I don't like what this one says, I'll go to the other one. You have to have somebody that you use regularly, not pick one today and then tomorrow, I'm going to pick a different one because I didn't like what he said the last time to me about this XYZ matter. It doesn't work that way. You have to go and you have to go with someone who follows the halacha, who's not wishy-washy, who doesn't compromise and say, well, you're a good person even though you're married to a non-Jew, and all these things, like you hear people wishy-washy. You're actually not even allowed to go to them for answers, because if they're already being wishy-washy with things that we know are against the Torah, then how could you, even if what they tell you is absolutely 100% the halacha, but going to them is really not allowed because they're already doing things that aren't quote-unquote kosher, in the sense of they're not following what they're supposed to. They're being more compromised things, or picking and choosing what is okay to tell people or not tell people. So it's better to go to someone who's truthful, who's honest, who's going to tell you what you have to do and not do, and tell you the truth, even if it hurts you a little, but you have to know the truth because that's what we follow. And I hope and pray that we will all merit, through doing all our mitzvahs, we'll merit to see the coming of Mashiach. speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.